Oh, hello. Hmm. Well, today we'll spend the next 50 minutes or so talking about resilience. Hey, baby. Oh, yeah. Doggy dog. Is you sweet baby? Where's your sweet baby? Hmm. Okay. Why did it say in a different language? Hmm. Hmm. All right. Resilience. We're going to talk about it. Maybe people show up. Fancy. All right. Resilience. Last broadcast got a recommendation for topic um for the next broadcast, and we're going to talk about it. Resilience. Uh what I think it is, which is not the final end all be all. You can think about it how you want to think about it. I'm just going to present some ideas and reflections from experience and what it means, how it feels when someone calls you resilient, how it felt when people called me resilient, how it feels when people call me resilient. What does it mean? What does resilience really mean? Um, I'm really considering adding a word to the channel in Theta systems because, as I said last time, and what my channel was really about, Scientology isn't the core of what I was dealing with in 2015, 2017. Like my nervous system was on fire. So uh, it's different now. So we'll talk about not just Scientology, although it makes a very useful uh, reference point for a lot of what I will discuss in in the way of systems. I spoke a little bit about how concepts exist in the mind or the brain, and how language takes those concepts and gives them form, and how language is programming. So it's different kinds of programs. Think about it like applications. The brain is the most sophisticated biological computer that we know of. There's a lot of topics that I could. Hey, Beach. Good morning. It's 10:13 here. Cheers. I got my mug for Father's Day. He says I ain't high enough for any of it, for any of this shit. Good morning. Good to see you. So, I'm just going to roll on with it, and the people who watch replay can comment. The last broadcast, someone suggested resilience, so we're going to talk about resilience. Um, so, programming and systems and language, how language is used to program. Resilience can be interpreted a couple ways. Uh, a survival program. It's not, I guess, a core thesis for what I'm about to go through is that it's survival programming, resilience, survival programming, and nice. You're on the beach. It's warm. That sounds that sounds nice. Is there a breeze? I like it when there's a breeze at the beach. Um, resilience is it's not just continuing under pressure. Uh, it's developing or adapting to survive. And what helped you survive? The important question, I think. Good morning, Mock. The important question about resilience is, what did it cost? What did it cost you? What resilience mechanism or adaptation have you developed that still deserves space in your life? So, uh, so someone in chat suggested at the last broadcast, and it stuck with me. Actually, right away, I was like, "Hey, that's a good topic." Um, but I've had the experience where some people call me resilient, and part of me appreciates that, and then the other part of me thinks, "Okay, well, what did that resilience cost me?" Um, I'm not into motivational poster type broadcasting, so I just want to talk about like I guess the real thing, nervous system and systems thing. Uh, when you survive things and adapt to them, then have to figure out what adaptations are still helping, or the ones that are just running out of running from an old emergency. Because the nervous system doesn't forget. I think I said that last time. Um, so we'll use that as a bridge into this. So I'll just come up with some, or give you some definitions of what, uh, some definitions related to resilience. One of them is endurance, because when you are enduring something, it means you keep going under pressure. You continue, you endure under the pressure. So that's one thing. Another thing is survival. That means you did something, whatever it was, you did what you had to do because there was no safe alternative. Resilience means you can recover and update your, if you're following along with the language and programming analogy, means that you can update your programming. Uh, you recover it, update it, or keep living without letting old programs run on your whole operating system, your human operating system. Uh, Resilience, like it's part of your character, not something you invoke when you need it. By Beach. Yeah. Programming, I think, part of it is and I'll get into it in a little bit about signal versus noise. Um, Mach, it's like it made you stronger. First of all, it didn't make me stronger. It revealed my strength at best, and I shouldn't have to have been this strong because others refused to heal and grow up. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean when I have been told, "Oh, you're resilient." And it's like I appreciate that, but at the same time, it's like what the hell did that cost? And Sophia said it, some I get a little window into what it cost her in that comment. It didn't make me stronger. It revealed my strength at best, and I have shouldn't have to have been this strong because others refused to heal and grow up. Right? So I would say you endured a lot and developed resilience. Uh, so, oh, thanks, Kathy. Welcome. Trauma response can look like a superpower until it starts charging interest. If you've ever experienced that, you've been high pressure situations, high pressure jobs, and it can look like a superpower till you burn out and fry your nervous system and rewire your entire programming language in yourself, and you forget who the hell you were. So yeah, a trauma response can look like a superpower to a lot of people. For a long time you may not, I know I didn't realize how much trauma was there. Because it was being acknowledged as a superpowers, like, wow, you can do all kinds of stuff. You really can push through. You're resilient. You don't give up. Da 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 da. Yeah, sure. And like I said, on the one hand, it's a compliment, and on the other hand, it's like, what the hell? They're right, but what did that cost me? And that's a much deeper question, really. Because only you can answer that, and only you can find out what. Um, okay, so I will use Scientology today as a reference point because, like I said, in the systems thinking and languages programming, it will be useful in the future. But I will also talk about bands and jobs and churches and stuff like that. So, the different systems teach different versions of it, of resilience. Some are healthy and some are awful. Some are useful for a little while. Some will actually kill you if you do them too long. So, like for Scientology, for example, make it go right, push through, ignore the body, uh, handle your considerations. Oh, that's a consideration. This is a redefinition of a word that we already have, but in Scientology, it's part of their what I would call resilience programming module. uh, Serve the group, third dynamic. If you're struggling, something's wrong with you. You got a case, you got out ethics, false purposes, evil intentions, commitment issues, Doubt condition. In a family system environment, like examples of resilience building is read the room. When you're a kid and you got domestic stuff going on, you learn to read the room because it directly affects your ability to survive and adapt. You have to learn to do that. Don't need too much. Don't require much. Stay useful. You're not useful. You don't belong. Anticipate danger. Don't provoke the person with power, your dad, your mom, your grandma, your grandpa, whatever, whoever it is. Kathy says, when you got no choice but to be strong because you almost gave up once, but a permanent solution to a temporary problem is not the answer. Amen to that. It took a long time for me to get these kinds of overwhelming, I just want to disappear kind of things out. That's a whole nother file. I have spoken about it in the past, the last procedure I had. But I know that if I do that permanent thing, that it's not going to work. I don't know how I know it. I just know that I will still have the same problems. I'll just be more disabled. Moving on to other types of resilience that can be taught in a environment that's more common than like Scientology stuff. It'd be like work culture, show up, burn out, keep selling. Don't make your problem anyone else's problem. Be grateful that you have work. And those kind of make sense, but that you see how they can be expanded almost infinitely to the point to where you're completely burnt out. Same thing in music, music burnout. Play while you're hurt. Make the gig. Never cancel a gig. Carry the amp. Carry the drummer's drums. Carry whatever. Don't complain. And turn the pain into performance. Some of these are healthy, some of them aren't. It just depends. Right? In the medical system, your body is not theoretical. You can't ideology your way around the body forever. Self-care, which I changed the name because I thought it sounded too lame, to badass maintenance. Self-care or badass maintenance does matter, especially medically. I guess a key thing to note about these these resilience terms is that some of the adaptations can save you and give you the juice. But anything that has the power to do that can also trap you too. So if it keeps running after you need it, after the danger's gone or whatever, then it's might be worth investigating. So, in terms of systems, I like a human operating system. I use audio a lot, so I'm going to talk in audio. Hopefully, it doesn't go over everyone's head, but it's, most people have plugged in a stereo and know when you turn on the radio and you're turning the dial on the radio, there's signal sometimes, and then there's noise. Hey, up Macarena. And whatever popular songs on the radio. There's the signal and then there's the noise. So noise is everything interfering, and I think the nervous system kind of acts like that too. Sometimes, say if you're anxious, that may feel like a signal, but if you examine it, it's not. It's just the noise. That can be very relieving to know that anxiety is the noise, not the signal. It can be helpful because when it's outside of your purview and then you examine it and then you see it, then the next time it happens, you may recognize it quicker. I tell my kids all the time how to get better at anything. Anyone want to take a guess at what it's three things. Three things make you better at anything. Anyone want to give a crack? It's the same word three times, if that helps as a clue. I'm happy to see everybody here. It's nice. It feels like I invited y'all over to my house and we're visiting again. It's nice. The community is nice, Uh my wife gave away the answer. So yeah, practice, practice, practice. And practice when you get what you think is a signal. That's a good guess. Assess, adapt, and keep going. Perfectly usable. I just do practice, practice, practice because it's simple to remember and it's repetitive and it's like language is programming. People remember things in threes for some reason. There's a whole thing with that. I don't know. But yeah, assess, adapt, and keep going. That goes right pretty well along with the signal to noise thing that I'm talking about. So, like, you assess, look at the anxiety, see where it might be coming from, pay attention to the thoughts you're having. Are you running a program from 1987? Are you running a program from 1992? Is that where the noise is coming from? Oh, shit. Now we're getting somewhere. So when something hits me like that now, I just try to ask myself what part of this, what I think is the signal, is current and what part is old. What part belongs to now and what part is going back to the radio analogy, just some noise playing through the speakers in my brain. Sometimes that signal is just noise coming from a memory. So the practice is to not ignore the noise or alarm or whatever. The work is finding out whether the alarm belongs to you. Because personally, I've run programming that was someone else's, made for me as a son, for a very long time. And then when I actually looked at it and looked at the signal and the noise and did my work there that I just talked about, I had a legitimate moment where I was like, I felt bad for my own version of myself that I like. Felt bad for that person for running this program someone else made for me. Like, Jesus, why would you do that? Why would you run that? But to get there, took some work. When the noise comes up. And, those old systems don't disappear. They keep sending notifications. Bling, bling, bling. There's notifications like a damn ECD here. Exogenic cybernetic device. Oh. So, repairing emotionally, that whole damn self-care. You gotta do self-care. Hear that from therapists a lot. I hated hearing that, so I'm like, yeah, I gotta come up with something better for me. Because, given the fact that I've been told all my life I'm so resilient and I can survive anything and basically indestructible. No, I'm not. My resilience cost me a lot. And I'd be willing to bet it cost all of y'all some shit too. Pardon français, la merde. It costs you something. Endurance is different. I wanted to separate those two terms. I did that early. So, resilience usually costs you something. When you want to repair it, you do your self-care. People call it self-care. I've never liked that phrase. It sounds pretty soft to me. So I call it badass maintenance. Like, if you're going to carry heavy equipment, you got to maintain it. And if your nervous system has carried trauma or illness, lived in a coercive group, you're stricken with grief, or you're very poor, you're dealing with conflict, or an overabundance of responsibility. Sophia says, I still can't enter a rearranged kitchen without my nervous system reacting. Okay, so, what program is that? What year programming is that? I was talking to my boss about some of this stuff yesterday, and it's like the human operating system, and my systems administrator I was talking to. It's like the human operating system pushes like Windows updates. It just pushes update over update over update over update. And so, like, your anxiety is compatible with today's shit. It's backwards compatible, all of your isms. But if you've got that, in your nervous system, or if the analogy is, if you got if you got heavy equipment, you got to maintain it. So it's not optional. Your car needs maintenance. Your tractor needs maintenance. Sometimes your router needs to be unplugged and turned back on again. That's maintenance. And I call that badass maintenance. And for a human operating system, like examples of basic maintenance or badass maintenance would be therapy, something that we avoid, sleep, something that we avoid sometimes when we're in the middle of stuff. Medical care, that's something that people avoid sometimes. Saying no, that's a big one for me. No. Saying no. Here's one that applies to the community that I don't really feel like I'm a part of anymore, and that's okay with me. But not broadcasting every wound. However, at one point I was part of that community, and every wound that I had, I was broadcasting. Kind of talked about that last time. I was processing in real time. I didn't have many people in real life to talk about this stuff to that would give a shit or understand the otherwise. So, uh, Sophia's answered the question here. Uh, it's my family creating chaos just to seem productive and stealing the foods that nourished us for at least 9 years while we were growing up to keep us distracted. And I'm autistic. Wow. That's a. Does that seem like an old program? Uh, Taking breaks is part of badass maintenance. Letting people help. That's another one that I had a lot of hard difficulty with. Let people help you, you know. But part of my programming was you don't need help. You never need help. If you need help, you're weak. You are weak if you need help. It's not true. Part of the maintenance and recovery and emotional recovery is learning all that shit's okay. Uh, and then I guess a more advanced thing to do would be to check the signal before reacting. If you are able to, sometimes you're in a situation you don't have time to sit there and think about the signal and noise. But when you have the time to do that, I encourage it. And here's an interesting one: confusing total system collapse with rest. Resting does not mean you're collapsing. It may feel like it because you've been burning at both ends, but um, yeah. I mean, badass maintenance is how I keep. And like I said, I co-opted the self-care term and turned it into a different definition for my own programming uses. Badass maintenance, you know, it's how I keep resilience from becoming self-destruction. Because this is why I thought this was such a great topic today, because resilience can uh feel like you're invincible and you can keep going. Like people are confirming it. You get the confirmation from a group or a system or from multiple systems, because that can happen. Maybe part of multiple systems, every single one of them is saying you're resilient. Hey, Trav. Everybody, Travis is in chat. He just got out of surgery yesterday. Please wish him well. He's had a surgery so he can bang on the drum some more for a few more years before we are worm food. Uh, Good morning, brother. I love you. Sorry I didn't get your call the other night. It was like 5 o'clock and I was in the middle of a bunch of stuff. Um, Travis is doing badass maintenance himself. He's in therapy and he's had some major breakthroughs he's told me about. I'm not going to share them, his personal stuff, but I'm happy for him. I'm very happy for him. All's good. That's good to hear. Oh, he's got like a 8 to 10 week recovery, something like that, on his elbow and his wrist. Um, yeah. So I have. Speaking of badass maintenance, I have therapy in a little bit. Uh, so I'm gonna. I feel like I covered quite a bit in a short period of time. Especially, I mean, enough to go back and review and not be too long of a thing. Listen at 2 times speed, and I sound like Robert Downey Jr. is what I've been told. Um, I got questions. You can answer in the chat, or you can answer just to yourself. These are just questions to consider. Um, what did you used to call resilience that you now recognize as survival mode? That's one. What did you used to call resilience that you now recognize as survival mode? I'm not saying these are easy questions, okay? I'm just throwing them out there for you to consider. What adaptations what adaptations helped you survive but caused you problems now? Got Sophia says, my badass maintenance is moving to my shire and having cameras to keep my family far away. Being stoic? Okay. Yeah. You don't need anyone. These are great answers, y'all. Only asked y'all 2 questions. And thank you for sharing it. Like, this is, to me, this is what this is for. I missed this community, you know, and this specific community, not the Scientology, let's broadcast every wound and follow every Sun headline, Sun News headline. It's just adding fuel to a dumpster fire. What does your nervous system still react to, even though that threat is gone? Oh, that just those 2 responses there is from Kathy and Travis. Pretending to be fine, and Travis said exactly. That got me in the gut a little bit because I know my brother. Pretending to be fine. I got, yeah. I know what he's talking about. What does your nervous system still react to, even though the threat's gone? I mean, I'll give an answer. I'm asking y'all to answer questions. I'll answer 1, 2, or if it's if we're getting crickets. So one of the ones for me is mm, someone touches me. I don't see them. I'll run a program from 1994 or 1996, and I get a big squeeze in the back of my brain of cortisol, adenosine, noradrenaline, adrenaline, and all the other good cortisol producing chemicals and hormones. And I have a hard time sleeping for about 36 hours or 48 hours, depending when that happens. Um, Threat's gone. It is still part of my system, uh, and it is still a difficult thing. It's part, and you got to maintain. This, some things are still going to happen, but noticing, okay, signal, I got cortisol. What's the signal? Oh, it's mostly noise. It's stuff that ain't even relevant anymore. That makes it easier for me to just be like, okay, well, now I'm dealing with the cortisol and all of the endogenous hormones that are pumping through my body, but I know what they are. It's not like I'm unfamiliar with their effects. Now, though, I don't have to feel, and I don't, once I identify, okay, well, that was just that if you want to call it a trigger or whatever. Um, that was that programming. And yeah, I'm not going to be able to sleep for 36 to 48 hours very well, but I'm not all bent out of shape about it. Sophia became a fixer and an overplanner. Well, I understand the overplanning part. I don't know if I was much of a fixer. Maybe. Uh, I did try to fix people and things, and people did ask me to fix stuff. So I guess a little of that for me as well. Uh, she also said interruptions, loud noises, being minimized, and people getting into my space like I don't have autonomy. Right. Yeah, I try to be really mindful of that with Stone. You know, I wanted him to have his autonomy. Um, and I don't know exactly where the line is on it. You know, communication sometimes we're working on it. Uh, and then Sophia says there's this guy in our chosen family that immediately made sure to not raise his voice around me and to never stand between me and an exit. Hey, chosen family, that's great. I love that. I actually adopted that early on, and then when I got involved with Scientology, it kind of like broke that programming. Um, okay, two more questions. What does badass maintenance look like for y'all? I just, I don't know when you tuned in or what point of reference you might have for it, but badass maintenance is just another word for self care. So, what does that look like for you? And remember, if you're maintaining heavy machinery, you gotta maintain it. I would argue that this thing in the skull is pretty heavy duty machinery, one of the most complicated machines on earth. So, you know, maintenance would be wise. So, what does it look like for you? Get into nature, cold water, and bake or cook something while dancing. Yeah. Well, you've tuned into some of the radio broadcasts. I don't know what you were doing. Maybe you were dancing around and cooking and stuff like that. That makes me real happy if that was the case. And you can lie to me and say, "Yeah, that's what I was doing." But nature really is a big one. Yeah, nature is a healing thing. I've gone on walks after some program aggressively starts running up in here and like, okay, it's time for a freaking walk. Because anger, I have anger. If you didn't know, I do. Now you know. Um, I'm able to mask it really well. I got a lot of anger though, and one of the things that I do is what Sophia said: get into nature. I go for a walk. Um, I play video games as escapism, and I have a community online of friends, gamers that I play with, and we're all fucked up. Pardon mon français. So it's like a trauma survivor club that plays games to just to have some escapism. Um, Kathy, I clean up and refill the bird feeders. Well, that's good exercise, and you got. See, you would know, Travis, but these people don't. I mean, maybe they've seen some of it in some of my old videos from years ago, like the one that Doug really loved. All right, love you too, Trav. You're gonna drop that bomb and leave. I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Um, Sophia, I sometimes just take a giant cup of tea down the pier and clock out from the sensory nightmare that life can be. Yeah, again, nature. See, I tend to gravitate towards nature too. Kathy, you're getting a little exercise and some nature there. That's, to me, badass maintenance. You're maintaining that machinery. So, there's a few things that I've talked about that could be entire whole other episodes or broadcasts. I'm going to be snooty about it. Um, but what I'm trying to do is to just keep things at a systems level. Because I think I understand systems pretty well. And looking back on the material from 2015 to 2020 in the Chronicles, that's essentially like I was doing this, what I was saying is not healthy or is maladaptive at the least, broadcasting your wounds. Uh, However, I didn't grow my channel into a big, huge thing talking about Scientology and breaking everything down. I broke some things down, and maybe it was useful. But there are other people who spend lots more time on talking about the specific stuff. And to me, some of it is trauma porn. And I don't want to be in that camp. Um, Looking at recovery. What I'm looking at. Oh, you angry. I would have never thought of someone as aggressively nature walks to not pointlessly yell at idiots. Oh, I'm not sure if that translated right, but it's funny. Hmm. So, badass maintenance is how you keep resilience from becoming self destruction, going back to like 10 minutes or 20 minutes into the broadcast. You can find yourself burnt out like I was in 2017, nervous system on fire. And then at a certain point, you collapse, you crash. There's a crash mode, crash out. And then, systems around you might be, having commentary like, whoa, you seem fine. You were good. Like, what's the problem? This is never a problem for you. Why can't you come into work? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? Why? Well, maybe you don't know what I'm dealing with. And it's only up to the individual to handle it. If you can't handle it, you're not doing very well. That's a Michael Singer quote, but I like it. If you can handle it, you're doing okay. If you can't handle it, you're not doing well. Check him out sometime if you guys are feeling it. I've listened to quite a lot of his stuff and I dig it. Not everything he says I know to be true, but he's got a lot of great things to say, Michael Singer. So maybe resilience isn't about being unbreakable. In other words, when someone says, "Oh, you're very resilient," I wouldn't think of that. I still have the same response. I feel like that's a positive thing, but also, what the hell did it cost me? Because, like Kathy said, there was a point where something just turned off. Like she could no longer give a fuck about whatever that thing was, and it may not ever turn back on. And resilience can cause that. Being resilient or thinking like that is, you must go on. You have to. Now, in survival situations, you do what you must in order to survive. But once that is over, it's the programming that keeps running later that is problematic. So, try to keep it in mind that, maybe resilience isn't about being unbreakable. Maybe it's about noticing where you are broke, uh, what you put in place, what broke, or what you built around what broke, and figuring out whether that's still useful or serves you in a good way. I mean, it's to me, it's systems, human operating systems, survival, and language and the nervous system. And it's how people get shaped from a child to adult. So, how do we shape ourselves back? You know? So, eh. Okay, let's see here. Uh, Sophia says, I also like to pound my own schnitzel as a stress relief. There's so many. Oh, there's only so much schnitzel you can eat. All right. Double entendre in my mind. Um, Kathy, that's one thing that gets me is when someone asks, why do you feel that way? You're doing fine. Shuts me down quick. Well, yeah. If you're masking and being resilient, I can understand how that would make you feel that way, Kathy. Sophia says she likes to say that she's too high functioning for her own good. Um, what do you? Can you give me an example? Uh, and Kathy says, I unfortunately am still learning that my feelings matter. No, not unfortunately. That is very fortunate, in my opinion. My humble opinion here. Good. Your feelings do matter because that's inside. That's your OS. That's your operating system. Do you want your. Think about it at a laptop, computer, whatever. Do you want a bunch of crap when you open it and you want it to take a long time to boot? And then when you hit escape to enter your PIN, it's like. No, man. And that's all you. That laptop is you. That operating system is you. You're the only one that has to deal with it. So, again, the shaping yourself back, getting your operating system. If that's a nerdy and analogous thing, I'm a nerd. But you clean up all of your. You start cleaning up your desktop. You start, oh, I don't need that program anymore. I haven't used that in 17 years. This program, this doesn't even run on this OS anymore. You see, the human operating system is like Windows. Update after update after update on top of one another. Layered updates. Windows does that. But I think it's fortunate that you are learning and still learning that your feelings matter, Kathy. And I think that's fortunate. And I'm very glad you're here. Sophia, I can keep going under pressure on adrenaline and am totally focused as a machine through everything. I function through active panic attacks without screaming at people to shut up. Yeah. Yeah. I can totally relate to that. It's that calm while everything is on fire. The dog meme. This is fine. Yeah. Now we got stuff in common. So, you know, I got to go to therapy, but I'll leave you with this one last thought. What did survival install and what deserves to still run? And I got to run. Love you guys. Thanks for coming. And for the replay crew that catches this later, sorry we missed you. Um, I'm in Central Time and I got like an hour on Wednesdays. But we did it last Wednesday. We did it this Wednesday. Anyone have a suggestion before we go for next week? Anyone want to talk about anything specific? And then I'll sign off. And I really appreciate y'all coming. Makes me feel good. TTFN, I don't know what that means. You have a good one too, Kathy. All right, I'm going to do a timer for a minute. No suggestions yet. I will, if I don't get one, I'll come up with something for next week. No shortage of ideas because now we've broadened the lens to systems. And I can talk about systems forever. So, I'm back. Oh, there we go. I like it. Sophia said, bye and maybe how to calm the nervous system. Definitely. We'll talk about how to calm the nervous system and what happens with the nervous system when we have all these things going on. I'll talk to my therapist about it too. Maybe she'll have some good input. Until next time, you guys check me out on all my other stuff. I got Crow Bennett. I got, of course, this in Theta. And Delta Gold Media is now a company. So check out Delta Gold Media on YouTube. And what else do I have? Octane Sound if you're into audio stuff. That's probably not y'all's thing. Yeah. Live long and prosper.